Hi, everybody. And that is what we're all about, giving the power to you. We give you the information and we want to help any way we can. You know, we're always about housing. Housing is first for us here at Pix 11. We're always making it happen. You're watching the live. Monica makes it happen Facebook show. I don't know what number this is, but Ellen and Amanda are on board, my wonderful producers. And we have Street Easy here to answer all of your questions. I don't know how we afford to live in New York City anymore. It is so expensive. And thank goodness Casey Roberts is here, our housing expert, to talk to us. You won't believe what she has to say. She has tips for us. And do you know that most of us are paying way too much? We kind of already know that, but it's confirmed. And Street Easy is here to help us navigate and give us some, I guess, shocking new numbers. I mean, I was shocked when I saw your new numbers, like how much people are paying to live in New York City, what the trends are, where the hot new neighborhoods are. You're going to give us tips too on how to save and what to ask for. I just love this show already. And I know so many of you are going to have so many questions. Make sure to ask us right now. Elle and Amanda are standing by right now looking at your questions. And Casey, thanks for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Right off the bat, so how much are we supposed to be paying, and why are we paying too much, and how do we not pay too much?
Yes, the $1 million question in New York City. So generally the best rule of practice is 30% of your income should go towards your rent. You know, that's not always entirely realistic in New York City. So, you know, take it with a grain of salt. In some cases, you'll have to pay more, but in general, as close as you can get to 30% of your income towards your monthly payments of rent, that is kind of the ideal, the sweet spot.
Casey, we're all paying more than that. You know that. And look at those numbers. Can you just, these are fresh numbers, and these are awful numbers. So tell me about them.
Yes, so these are rent prices in New York City as of Street Easy data in January. So across New York City, rents are up 16% year over year. Looking at Manhattan, they are at 3,700. That's the median. So that's up 34.5% year over year and the highest on Street Easy record. The same is true for Brooklyn. So Brooklyn median asking rent is 2,700. It's up 13.5% and also a Street Easy record as well. In Queens, rents are up 15% year over year. In Bronx, they're up about 8%. And in Staten Island, 8.4%.
So these are record numbers, you're saying. These are record numbers that we're seeing. And, you know, Ebony is watching. Hi, Ebony. She says her rent went up from $745 to $1,105. I love how they're pushing the $5 right there. Ebony, tell me what borough. I'm interested in what borough. If you tell me, you know, what boroughs you're from, and let's see if it's tracking with these numbers. And take a look. So how's the inventory? That's the next question. Like, are there apartments available? Where are they?
There are apartments available across the city. However, inventory is down. So across New York, in January compared to the same time last year, we saw inventory dip about 60%, and even more so in Manhattan. So in Manhattan, down 68%. So pretty drastic dips from where inventory was at this time last year.
That's what's causing the rise in rent is the inventory, of course. It's supply and demand. And I didn't do very well in economics, but I know that.
That's exactly right. Yes. A lot of renters on the market right now, coupled with not a lot of inventory.
Okay, so now you're giving us all the bad news, but do you see the rent dropping anytime soon, or is this bad news going to last?
So we don't see rents dropping anytime soon. However, we do think that the inventory will increase. So theoretically, that should put downward pressure on rents, but demand will still stay high. So while we probably won't see rents dropping anytime soon, we will see the growth that we're seeing right now start to slow down quite a bit.
All right, we have so many people commenting, and I think Elle's going to join us soon. But Leonie says it's $1,400 for studios in Queens right now. Is that right? It's that high?
You know, it really depends on where within the borough you're looking. So, you know, certain areas that are more accessible via public transit or are closer into the city center, those are going to have higher prices. Same with buildings that have, you know, lots of good amenities. So it really does vary from building to building and area to area too within the borough.
So much bad news. I'm sure people are saying, how can you help us? Like, what kind of tips? What's the best thing to do if you are, let's say, hunting right now? I mean, what can you do?
Yeah, so we have lots of tips. The first is to get prepared so that you are ready to move fast on an apartment that you love. It is a competitive market, so the more that you can get prepared in advance, the better. So, ahead of an apartment showing, get all of your paperwork together so that you're ready to sign the lease quickly. So that's things like a clean application, landlord references, and also proof of a steady income. Having all of that together will really help you to be able to move quickly when you find the right place.
And how do you do research? I know Street Easy is a great way. You actually have alerts to your phone. I mean, I use that.
Yes, that's a great tip actually. Set up those alerts so that you get real-time updates when there's a new apartment that fits your criteria that hits the market. You can be ready to move really quickly. And, having those alerts set up and doing the research on the market can also really give you a leg up. So, figuring out where across the city are those good deals. StreetEasy actually has something called the data dashboard. So we let you dive into prices and inventory, and you can see what it looks like across every neighborhood across the city. So, for example, if there's an apartment that you're interested in, but you see it's quite a bit higher than the median asking rent in that neighborhood, you might have some room to negotiate. Or, checking that out can really give you a good sense of what neighborhoods are offering relative deals right now compared to other neighborhoods.
Now,
So
I
you can
hate
really
being
do your
realistic. I hate being the next one is being realistic, but that plays into a little bit about our topic before the show was the hot neighborhoods. I mean, maybe being flexible and being realistic and trying maybe new neighborhoods that might be hot and lower rent. Give us some tips.
Absolutely. Yes. So there are two great tips in there. The first is being realistic about your trade-offs. So, in New York, I think we all know we can't have it all and we have to kind of think through what is most important to us. So, commute time, the price point, the amenities that you have both in the unit and the building. How many floors are you going to have to walk up to get to that unit? Where in the city you want to be. All of those things are really important trade-offs to consider, and can really help you narrow down your search and then move quickly when a rental that fits your criteria hits the market. And to your point on neighborhoods, I would say be open-minded. Try searching for the criteria that you want, but don't choose the neighborhood. So think about the price range and the number of bedrooms and the amenities, put all of that into your search, but leave it open on the neighborhood and then see where those apartments are around the city. You might be surprised that you can find your perfect apartment in an unexpected neighborhood or location that maybe you hadn't considered before.
I love that suggestion. And the fact that you said, I think Lower Manhattan is making a resurgence in people living, especially with children. That plays into our Samantha who's watching. Hi, Samantha. I'm looking for an apartment. She says, for me and my two kids, I have FEPS voucher and I can't find a place that takes it. Any advice on that? That's a good question. Thanks, Samantha.
Absolutely. The city actually the city government has a lot of great resources online. Housing Connector, I know, is one of them that helps you find units that accept vouchers and can really help you figure out kind of where those are around the city and make sure that you're connecting to units that are available that also do accept those vouchers. And the other piece I would say is, as a renter, know your rights when it comes to to source of income. It is illegal to discriminate based on source of income, and we at Street Easy take that incredibly seriously, and so we try to do a lot in terms of educating renters on what your rights are, what you can ask for, and making sure that you are kind of best set up to be able to find your dream home.
I love that. Elle is joining us. Wow, people are, this is blowing up. Tell me more, Elle.
We're getting so many comments. I just wanted to read some that are coming through from Instagram. Ms. says, rent prices are not matching the income that we make when we were talking about needing to make the 30%. Visarma says the cost of living has skyrocketed, but salaries have stayed the same. So kind of to the same point.
So true.
Isel says, I pay $1,200 for a one bedroom, but I got a new owner. of my complex, and now the rent is about $1,800 a month, and I can't afford it. And I think it's just voicing that same complaint. And I did see a really interesting comment from Eshka Lockhart, who's watching right now. And Casey, this is directly for you. She says, I have a friend who's looking for an apartment in Queens, and her credit score is unfortunately not super high, and so it's affecting her getting an apartment. What advice do you have for someone who maybe doesn't have a great credit score, but still needs to find a place to live in New York City?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, one of the things that's an incredibly hard piece of finding an apartment in New York City is the fact that, you need a pretty high income to be eligible for market rate apartments. And so, one way that a lot of renters are able to get around that is if they have a guarantor. So instead of having to have, that income and that perfect credit score yourself, a guarantor will essentially be able to co-sign with you and, essentially back the fact that you're able to pay that rent every month. And that looks better in a landlord's eyes. So a lot of times that's going to be a really helpful piece if you're able to secure a guarantor to get that apartment.
And what if you can't afford, you have to do the first month, last month. What if you can't afford all that? And do you have to anticipate that that's what you're going to have to do if you do get a new apartment? I have a lot of questions that I see here about, do agents, charge that first month rent, or how much do you need to put down, and can you negotiate that? You said negotiate.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yes, there is a lot of money that goes into it directly when you are signing the lease. So it is typically, a broker fee in many cases is something that you'll have to pay. It is negotiable, to your point. First month's rent or a security deposit, not both. Typically, you shouldn't have to put down both of those things, is another piece of it. So it is a lot of money upfront. But like you said, yes, it's a hot market, but that doesn't mean that there is no room for negotiating. So I would say, renters might just have to get a little bit more creative in today's market. Negotiating doesn't mean always asking for a decrease in the rent that you pay each month. You can really think about other trade-offs or other aspects of the apartment that impact your monthly expenses. So maybe the landlord won't budge on rent, but the appliances are due for an upgrade. That's a great thing to ask for. And actually, it makes the value of the apartment, that much more valuable for the next renter. So a landlord's going to be inclined to want to make those updates. Another way is, say you're looking at a building that has more than one vacancy, you could try negotiating for a unit that's on a lower floor, or maybe has a little bit of a less convenient layout, and that can also help you save on your monthly costs as well.
Such good suggestions. And we have to talk about these must-haves. I think this is so fascinating. Like, you're seeing, these are the top 10 must-haves?
Yes. So we recently launched a new search tool on StreetEasy, and it's called StreetEasy Flexible Search. So it essentially enables renters and buyers to specify which unit and building amenities are must-haves for them and which are nice-to-haves. So it makes it really easy to kind of find all of the apartments and see all of the apartments that might be a good fit for your needs. And we actually released data, which you have right here, that's based on StreetEasy Flexible Search, and that shows these top 10 must-haves for New Yorkers. So no surprise, the holy grail of apartment amenities right now, when we're all spending more time at home and sneaking out of a meeting to throw in a load of laundry, is in-unit laundry. So that is something that all New Yorkers are really looking for.
Parking is so important now too. I guess people are driving more and more,
That's exactly right.
Now,
yes.
Something good from Instagram that we just got is, this is the question, the golden question: is now the right time to leave New York City? And when will rent go down?
Yeah, great questions. Leaving or staying, it's totally a personal decision. I still live in the city. I love it. I think that if you walk around, you still feel the energy. Restaurants are back, nightlife is back, and I think it's absolutely a great time to be living and renting in New York. In terms of when rents will drop, I wish I had the crystal ball to say this is when it's happening and everyone mark your calendars. But, the reality is that it's going to be a hot market for a little bit, but the spikes in rents that we're seeing month over month, those are going to start to slow down a little bit as more inventory comes onto the market. So,
and I just have to say thanks to everyone watching a row of so many fantastic comments, and we couldn't get to all of them. Jenny, thank you for watching. Vanette, Kay, Brina, everybody, Donna, Jorge, and the same theme keeps coming up. And I have to say, Casey, it's too expensive to live in New York City, and we're hoping that those rents go down. And thanks for all those tips on how to negotiate and what to look for and to help us out in this tough time. And Renee, we got to end with Renee Williams. She says, what happened to rent control? Good question. What happened to rent control, Casey?
Yes, I mean, to your point and to what everyone else is saying, it's definitely an expensive market, and that is absolutely true. Rent controlled apartments, rent stabilized apartments, those are absolutely hard to come by. Those are coveted in New York City. But I guess if I could leave everyone with a final tip, I would just say, don't give up hope. New Yorkers are creative. They're an industrious bunch. So just be persistent, do your research, and you will find the right apartment for you.
On that note, thank you so much, Casey, for joining us this evening. So many great tips, and we love New York City. I love New York City so much. It breaks your heart sometimes, but you just love it, and it's just amazing to live here. And we're so grateful to you for your time tonight, and of course, everyone watching on Facebook, all your great comments. And don't forget to watch Pix 11 News. We have a fantastic 4 p.m. show now, 4, 5, 6, and 10 in our morning show, and now our weekend mornings. Don't forget, we have weekend mornings now to watch as well. And right here on our Facebook page, make sure to always check out our Facebook page, and we're making it happen. You know that. And if you want to reach out to me if you need any help, Monica at pix11.com. Good night, everyone.